Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Blockbuster Reviews. The book we're going to review today is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Like all the books that we've reviewed so far, this too is a New York Times international bestseller. Published in 1997, Rich Dad, Poor Dad took the world by storm. The author of this book is an American-born Japanese by the name of Robert T. Kiyosaki. The book was autonomously published because publishers couldn't see the potential in the book at the time, and they did not know what they were missing out on. About the author. Robert T. Kiyosaki is a self-made billionaire who made most, if not all, of his wealth in the real estate business. Unlike so many so-called self-help gurus, Kiyosaki is actually qualified to write this book because all this knowledge is based on his practical experience of converting this knowledge into money. Robert went on to write many books on the psychology of the elite rich class and even made a best-selling board game for teaching young people how to invest. The game was called Cash Flow 101. Now, the book in numbers. The total number of pages are 336. The price on Amazon is $7.5. The time needed to finish the book is 3 to 4 days with 4 hours of reading a day. Rating on Amazon is 4.7 on 5. The level of understanding needed to read the book is 2 out of 10, so it's basically for complete beginners. Now, how this book came into being. The story behind this book is that when Robert T. Kiyosaki was growing up, his biological father was a teacher and struggled financially. Then, Kiyosaki made a friend, Mike, who had a father who was very rich. Robert came to spend time with Mike's father as well as his own and started understanding the differences between the two mindsets of his unwealthy father and his wealthy father figure. That's why the book is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The book is the difference between the two mindsets. At the age of 9, Kiyosaki went to his real father to ask advice on the subject of money and finance, but realized his father had no valuable insights to offer on the subject. Eventually, Kiyosaki went under the training of his rich father figure, or whom he refers to as Rich Dad in the book. And he started practicing all that he'd been taught. Kiyosaki eventually started becoming very successful himself. Here are some of the differences of the approaches of the two fathers. 1. According to Poor Dad, one must work hard. According to Rich Dad, however, one must work smart. According to Poor Dad, one must get employed and remain employed in a stable job. But according to Rich Dad, one must do business and become an investor. Number 3. Poor Dad says you should save your income, but Rich Dad says you should create layers of investment, and the income from each layer should be used for setting up a new layer of investment. Number 4. Poor Dad spent money impulsively. Rich Dad spent money with emotional control. Number 5. Poor Dad gives tax that can be legally avoided. Rich Dad uses the legal system to give as low taxes as allowed. In addition to these differences, Robert describes 10 steps that one can use to awaken their financial earnings. Here are a few of them. Number 1. Choose your friends carefully. Robert says that a person's income is the average of the 5 people closest to them. Number 2. Pay your brokers reasonably, meaning not to overspend trying to make money. Number 3. Teach and you shall receive. This is a kind of a spiritual principle on the one hand, which refers to a person receiving more as they give more, but on the other hand, it's also a principle rooted in logic, because when you teach, your own ideas become clearer, and a clearer mind makes more profit. In explaining the differences between the rich and the poor, Robert T. Kiyosaki gives away some very memorable quotes in the book. For example, number 1, there is a difference between being poor and being broke. Being broke is a temporary condition, but being poor is a permanent state of mind. Number 2, it's not about how much money you can make, it's about how much money you can keep. Number 3, JOB is an acronym for just over broke, and unfortunately it applies to millions of people around the globe. Number 4, don't tell yourself you can't afford it, rather tell yourself, how can I afford it? Number 5, and this is my personal favorite, anything that puts money into your pocket is an asset, and anything that takes money out of your pocket is a liability. By this definition, your car and your house are not assets, but because the more they run, the more they take money out of your pockets. It's absolutely brilliant. The verdict. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is hands down one of the best books of learning about money and improving your financial condition ever to have been written. The lessons in this book are absolutely timeless, and it really helps the book. It's easy to understand, written in plain English, and it's for everyone. from someone starting out their journey to wealth or someone highly experienced in the knowledge of handling money. And I highly, highly recommend this book. I'll give it at least 9.5 out of 10 because it's a timeless classic. And that's it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. Till we come back with the next review, have a good day.